Welcome to Tuesdays with Gary. My name is Gary Lanham. I'm the team leader of the Gary Lanham Group at Coldwell Banker Fort Lauderdale Beach office. Today is July the 28th, 2020, and what a half year we've had as we enter into the final stretch of the year this year. So as you know, we bring you real estate and doing business in real estate in the Fort Lauderdale area, and we talk about doing real estate with safety. So throughout the season, what you've seen us talk about is dealing with COVID. How do we do home inspections with COVID? How do we do photography with COVID? How do we do home inspections with COVID? How do we get mortgages with COVID? And today we're going to talk about how to get insurance during COVID. So I brought my good friend, my insurance rep, and probably the best insurance guy in Fort Lauderdale onto the program with me today. I brought Joseph Dominguez, who is the president of Dunham Insurance, who I've known for a long, long time, and we do business together for a long time. Welcome, Joseph. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Gary, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, we're certainly glad to see you. So COVID, like, how are you personally dealing with COVID now? How are you handling the mental stress, the job stress in this current environment?
Well, the mental stress, I've been drinking a little bit more wine lately than I have in the past years, but I think that's probably everybody. It has been tough. It has really been a challenge to get used to. I had, of course, closed my office and sent everybody home to work from home for the first few weeks. And I myself came into the office, since I was the only one here, with one other employee, which was set him on the far side, way away from us. And we were able to answer the phones and answer questions and still service policies and help our clientele. As things kind of opened up again, I brought everyone back into the office, but we are socially distant. I have separate offices for everybody. We have face masks. We take our temperatures every time we come in the mornings, and the office is closed to the public. So unless they have a specific appointment, no one's coming in here, so that we're able to help protect the office and keep everyone safe.
So it sounds very similar to what a realtor does. We take temperatures of our customers. We have a big project we'll talk about at the end of the video today, which is Urban Village. And when somebody comes to visit us, we take that thermometer, we invade their personal space to make sure we all remain safe. We do the same thing with regards to masks and gloves. We wash or we spray the bottoms of their feet before we let them in. And of course, we're trying to promote real estate safety first for our customers, for our clients, and also for ourselves. So Joseph, what's your business like during COVID? Have you noticed a change in business activities as well as a business attitude?
Well, I can't say that things have slowed down a tiny bit. I really was concerned that there would be a larger slowdown in the market, but as you know from your experience, sales homes are still pretty booming, and everyone still needs insurance. You know, in order to buy a home, you have to have insurance to get that mortgage. So, and if you're buying cash, then you need insurance in order to protect that home. So it is, fortunately, is a commodity that is still required in order to function and to have, the regular life styles that we have. We have to have homeowners insurance, we have to have auto insurance, and so forth. So how that has changed is the market is the insurance market itself is a little more difficult to navigate for me on my side. I have to do a little bit more checking and be more cautious. So for example, some of the challenges I faced in respect is we have to do home inspections. So I had a lot of clients that did not want anyone to come into their home to do the inspection. So we had to postpone that. I had to make, with some of my insurance carriers, I had to have them approved to not have a home inspection, because we can't force a client to get an inspection when there's a safety issue there. I have clients who were elderly, where there would be a high risk group. So we definitely would not want to put anyone at any type of a risk. So everyone feels comfortable, the buyer, the seller, or a lot of my clients are people who already own homes and are just changing insurance carriers altogether. So, we don't want anything bad to happen. We want this all to be a good, positive experience for everyone to be properly protected, save money, get the proper coverage, and so forth.
So it's funny, we're selling houses and we're trying to get associated insurance coverages for the clients. Sellers don't want us in the house. The buyers don't want to go in the house. So we have to rely on tools like this. We're using StreamYard today, thanks to my videographer, Shitachi Egwu, who is in Poinsettia Heights. You're over there in Oakland Park, Fort Lauderdale, and I'm in northeast Fort Lauderdale, 3 separate sites. But we're able to still navigate business. We're able to talk about what's required, what's necessary, how do we get the business done, and how can we remain protective at all costs. So Joseph, tell me, how is your business different today than 2 years ago? I mean, you guys were kind of booming 2 years ago when the business was going. You said there was perhaps a little bit of a slowdown, but what about, you mentioned also home inspections. Why all of a sudden these home inspections? Is it because of refinances, or is it new home loans that have to go into place?
Well, the difficulty in the insurance market is actually not related to COVID or the current conditions. It is directly related to the amount of claims that have been going on in Florida. And it's not only hurricane claims, there's water claims, there's something that's called assignment of benefits. There's lots of different factors that have gone in to change the insurance market. So when I talk to people and say, oh, we've, because of hurricanes, they say, well, we haven't had any hurricanes in 10 years here. We haven't had since Irma. And I said, well, Irma kind of went around South Florida, but it still hit the rest of the state. In the last 4 years, we've had hurricanes in other parts of the state. So, and those disasters were billions of dollars. And it's the same insurance companies that we have here in South Florida as we have in Northern Florida. So the insurance carriers have gotten less open to placing insurance and buying policies in South Florida. Now, this is kind of a detailed answer, but I think you'll understand at the end. So insurance has reinsurance. So it's insurance for insurance companies.
Right.
And the reinsurance carriers price has skyrocketed unbelievably high. One of my carriers told me that, he just told me this a couple days ago, their reinsurance costs went up $80 million.
80 million, that's a lot of money.
So where does that money come from? That comes from you and me paying our insurance bills. Prices are going up, coverages are being restricted. So what that has really created is a vacuum in the market. So the reinsurance companies will then say, okay, well, we'll insure you, but you have to have less policies in South Florida. And they look at it as the density of the amount of risks that are there. If a hurricane was to hit South Florida, the amount of claims in South Florida versus the rest of the state is going to be much higher because there's more homes here.
So it sounds like that's kind of like an umbrella kind of policy that goes on top of our own policy, and they actually are asking you to, or they're asking the carriers to kind of limit their coverage in South Florida so they can umbrella the entire country. Is that how that works?
Well, the entire country and the entire world. It's all the companies that do reinsurance are worldwide insurance carriers. So they do insurance for all the disasters that we see all over the globe. So the wildfires in Australia, the wildfires in California, the flooding in the Middle East or in Asia, I'm sorry. But anywhere that there's disasters, these carriers are there and they're still paying out, hundreds and millions and billions of dollars. So with the changing environment and the increase in fires and the increase in flooding and the increase in hurricanes means increase in disasters and an increase in policies being paid. And again, all of that trickle down to you and I, the simple homeowner that has to pay the higher bills when we're in the bottom end of South Florida.
Well, it sounds like there's plenty of business for Lloyd's of London to get on top of the game and to continue to provide excellent coverages. So Joseph, I know you've got some slides for us today. I want to give you an opportunity to go through those slides, and maybe as we go through the slides and we can talk about different ways we can ratchet down those insurance premiums, maybe through better inspections or how the homeowner or the consumer can protect their home so that they don't pay outrageous prices, even though the prices are much, much higher. Do you have some slides for us today?
Yes. If you want to go ahead and just pop that first one up, that's just our logo. You guys can remember us from the tree, beautiful green. And these are our basic lines of business. We have our homeowners, we talked about flood, auto, umbrella, boat, business, commercial, life insurance, classic auto, personal articles, and cyber insurance is another little project that I have as well.
So basically, in terms of buying a house now, Joseph, what kind of insurance do you recommend to your customer? And maybe we can go through the homeowner first and then maybe the investor second.
Okay, so they're definitely going to need, if it's the homeowner, they're going to need a primary homeowner's insurance policy. So
Okay.
depending on whether the home is east of 95, if we're looking in South Florida, or west of 95 will be the types of policies that we're going to write.
Are we talking about flood zone kind of issues here, or is that why you're
flood
saying
zone
east of
and
95?
hurricane zone.
And
Flood zone and hurricane zone.
Okay.
So right now, there are limited amount of companies that are writing in South Florida because of the issues that we just discussed. So we may have a smaller choice of companies to go with. So, and then of course we look at the quotes, we get all the quotes together, and then the pricing might be high with one company, so we want to go with another company by splitting the policy. So we may have a homeowner's policy, a hurricane policy, and then a flood policy if they're in a flood zone and it's needed. So it is a possibility that you'll have three policies,
Three
for a
separate
single home.
policies. Got it.
Yeah.
And that's if I'm going to live in the home. Is there any other insurance I need if I'm going to use my investment for as a rental income property?
There's nothing additional that you need, and unless it's titled in the name of an LLC or something, then you may want to consider a general liability policy or additional liability if that LLC owns other things. So for example, if you own 4 houses under the same LLC, you should have a general liability policy because that's going to give you broader protection.
So it looks like we had a little internet mishap there. Joseph dropped out for a moment. I'm sure he'll drop back in. So we're talking about insurance, and Joseph Dominguez, who is president of Dunham Insurance, is with us today. And we've been talking about the different types of insurance that a homeowner needs to purchase, as well as the different types of insurance an investor of homes might need to purchase for their properties as well. And Joseph is just in the middle of talking about his slides, and we'll continue on with his next slide, please, Chitachi.
Okay, so for homeowners insurance, as we said, we would take care of a primary or a secondary home. If someone has a rental property, condo market is doing extremely well right now. We have a lot of condos and new purchases and sales going through our office. And then, of course, as the economy wavers, a lot of people are choosing not to own, or they're selling their homes and renting. So we also have renters policies available as well. And these are all extremely important for protection of your properties and your liability.
So let's talk about condos for a minute. So a lot of the condos have been locked down. In fact, a lot of condos stayed locked down until basically May. And the thought was that realtors couldn't even get in there to show the properties. So you're saying, are you seeing more activities in those high rises where there's shared spaces, shared elevators, or is it just the condo market in general?
I would say in general, I'm seeing a pretty good movement from my side, which is interesting because for me, the real estate market is a little bit different than you because I see the new purchases, I see the sales, and then I see the current owners and their activity. So a lot of times people will change insurance companies, or they just self-insured, especially in condos. A lot of people do not carry insurance on their condos because they self-insure. So we'll see traction there. But the thing that I've seen the most for new sales is online purchasing of condos. I've had a lot of files that I've worked on that They live out of state and they bought the condo by virtual tours. I'm sure you've had many
Got it.
clients that have done the same.
Got it. We've had a remarkable number of sight unseen purchases. The buyer actually comes down on the day of closing. They do a final walkthrough, but we've actually been demonstrating the virtual aspects of the property, the neighborhood, the common elements. If it's a condo, it's been amazing that we've been able to do all this stuff virtually. So Joseph, so let's talk about those condos and the reinsurance for a minute. So I'm imagining that a lot of these condos are inhabited by people who come down here to retire. And so they've got a cut in income, they've got a fixed retirement income. You're saying that the insurance rates are going up. So I'm assuming that they would self-insure at one level, but would they then reinsure on top of that? And would you work with them on that reinsurance component?
So what I
So again, we're having a little technical difficulties in here, which is not unusual when you do this type of thing. If the wind blows too much or there's too much rain, we sometimes lose a connection. But we're talking with Joseph Dominguez, who's the president of Dunham Insurance. And we're talking about condos, in particular condos that are on the beach, where they may decide they're large enough and have enough money that the one way to cut their insurance cost would be to actually self-insure. And then when they self-insure, Joseph was just getting ready to tell us about any type of reinsurance that might be added on top of that. Go ahead, Joseph.
Okay, so specifically for condo insurance, when people tell me they reinsure, I tell them not to. So it's
Okay.
actually very important for them to purchase a policy. There's a huge misconception out there that people believe that the association has a hurricane policy, so I'm protected. So that is not the case. The association's policy protects the building. If there's any damage inside your unit during a hurricane, you have no coverage unless you have a hurricane policy or a policy that covers hurricane. So some people say, well, you know, I have impact windows and I have shutters, so I'm safe. I'm on the north side of the building, whatever
Right.
thing this is. So they say that they're not going to spend the extra money. It's like, okay, fine. The option is there. If you ever change your mind, you can give me a call. But I just want to at least give them the proper education and understanding of what it is.
Of course, we probably all remember what happened during Wilma. You know, this is probably an era before there was so much impact glass in these high rises, but you could drive along A1A, you could drive along Broward, you could see many glass windows totally blown out, damaged because of wind damage from hurricane force winds. But Joseph, go ahead. I didn't mean to distract you from your presentation. If you want to take on your next slide.
All right. So this one is extremely important. This is for all the realtors that are listening and our viewers. Inspections are definitely required on every home, and the year for the inspection has gotten younger. Okay, so as you can see from my slides there, it says 4 points on any home over 15 years old, wind mitigation on any home or condo over 15 years old.
That's a big change, right?
It is. It used to be 25 and 30, but now
Right.
we're recommending 15 because the carriers are asking for it. Okay,
Got
so
it.
we definitely recommend that. Now, if just think about it in these terms, the biggest cause of claims in the insurance industry right now are water claims. Okay,
Okay.
so your AC has an efficient life of 12 to 13 years. Your water heater, 15 to 20 at the most. Okay, and if you have a shingle roof, the shingle roof life expectancy now is down to 15 years.
Okay.
Okay, so you imagine we've had here in South Florida, you have a shingle roof from 2005, which is when Wilma hit, and here
Right.
we've had a couple storms. How is the wear and tear on that roof? Okay, we've had tropical storms, we've had Irene, Irma, just the sun, the heat, the wear and tear can affect some roofs more than others. Same thing for a water heater or an AC. The life expectancy has gotten shorter on some of these things for insurance carriers to react to claims. because they're seeing more claims in these items as they're younger than when they were older before. And that's why they're making sure that everything is in good condition.
So I got to ask this question just from a consumer perspective. Are we also seeing more claims because there are more claims adjusters out there, independent claims adjusters?
Absolutely. That actually has caused, that's a direct result of 25% increase in insurance premiums. There's more adjusters, there's more claims. The claims have gone from $5,000 claims to $25,000 claims, and not all cases they should be. So because of that, that has made the insurance companies require the inspections to help be more preventative. And that's the key, is they want us to underwrite the homes and the risks so that we can try to foresee any issues and deal with them before something happens.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those scenarios. If it feels too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. Is there any movement by the insurance industry to be able to cut down on that type of activity? And I'm not saying that insurance adjusters might be committing any fraud, but you're suggesting that the claims have gone by 25%. Are there any plans in the midst, because that ultimately affects our future premiums, right? The more claims that are paid, the more we're going to have to pay in the long run, which kind of seems like a never-ending cycle.
Yes, you're correct. And actually, some legislation has just passed recently that is limiting the amount of funds that can be collected from attorneys that are suing insurance companies. And they have staggered the amount of money that can be charged for fees and so forth. So it actually makes it a less incentive for adjusters and attorneys to get involved in the claims process, unless it truly is a needed experience. Whereas before, there were so many claims that were not actually needed to go to litigation. For example, I got this statistic just a couple of days ago. In 2015, there was 54% of claims were litigated. In 2019, 385% of claims were litigated. That's the increase in the amount of claims, and that is directly for adjusters and attorneys.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, is it different down in South Florida or in the state of Florida as compared to the rest of the country, or is that typically a nationwide? Is that now occurring all over the country now?
It started, I think South Florida invented it, because we're good about doing things like that, and it has grown and spread throughout the rest of the states and different parts of the country as well. It's popping up everywhere, and it's something that the insurance industry is tackling. But we have to. Every state has different laws on to how these things can be handled. So Florida was or is extremely consumer heavy, to where it can be taken advantage of. So it has to be balanced out to where they're now requiring mediations to occur before you go to litigation, which makes sense. That's the fair thing to do. Make both parties come to a mediation, and then everyone can get satisfied.
Well, it certainly seems like the right thing to do, because if we're taking advantage of a system and we're getting cash for claims that may not be real, we're all going to pay for that. And it's no quick fix. It's the kind of thing where some carriers will probably refuse to write in the state of Florida, and we'd all be in a pickle if that happened. That's
exactly what's happened. When we were talking about before, is 2 years ago, I had 25 companies I could choose from right now to write a homeowner's policy. Today I have 4.
Wow.
And that's directly related because companies have left the state or left Florida, or left South Florida. And they're all restricting because of age of home. So I have companies that will only do 2015 and newer. I have companies that will only do 2018 and newer, 2010 and newer. So they're just saying that we don't want the market unless there's absolutely no chance of there being a claim.
So that's kind of an interesting, it's an interesting concept as a realtor because, we know that most of the homes in South Florida were typically built in the 1950s, 1960s. We know that the 2008 recession slashed the value of our homes. We saw developers come in and buy homes, tear them down. We're kind of seeing that new phenomenon again. So it's likely, based on what I'm hearing you say, that given a couple of more years, that if you own a 1950s, 1960s style home, it'll be very, very difficult to insure it.
Well, it's very difficult to insure today, and that home has to definitely be updated. It has to have a newer roof. It has to have the electrical panels updated, the AC, the plumbing. Everything needs to be updated on the house. If you're buying it with a mortgage and you plan on redoing it, like for example, the age of the flipper. When we used to write insurance, every day on someone who is flipping a home, that is very difficult now. It's extremely hard to find a policy that we can do a builder's risk or a renovation type policy on if there's a mortgage involved. The coverage is limited, but it's even more expensive now than it ever was. So that's the other thing that we have to prepare for. And as an insurance agent, I have to, when there's a mortgage involved, is prepare the insured, the realtor, that of what the costs are going to be, and then is this going to fit the ratios for the mortgage? And that's something that we have to.
Such great information, Joseph. And when we, real estate, one of the components of real estate is investing, of course. And you hit it right on the nose. I mean, when it comes to the kind of prices we have now and the kind of taxes that are associated with those purchase prices, and then you add to that the annual premium, which is even if you break it down to a monthly basis, it's more difficult and harder for the investor to make the numbers work, to actually justify buying the home, renovating the home, putting it back on the home, and still coming out whole and perhaps making less profit than they anticipated.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, definitely it is. It's a whole new market. And the only thing I can say is that, I was here doing this when the market crashed and things went crazy and scary, and we didn't know what was going to happen. But we rode through it. And just as I know we will here with what's going on today, and there will be changes in the market, and we'll ride through it, and we'll just keep on going and figure out what we have to do. And Dunham Insurance is going to continue to write the best policies at the best rates. We actively look for the discounts that we can provide every customer and client. And we recommend, okay, do this to get a discount or do that to get a discount. So we can make sure that they're getting the proper insurance at the lowest rate. So there is a profit.
Well, Joseph, you've been filled with lots of good information for us today. We've been talking with Joseph Dominguez, who's the president of Dunham Insurance. We have some contact information for Joseph, I believe. And Joseph, perhaps you can share your phone number and how people can get in touch with you.
Yes, please. You can go to dunhamins.com. So that's DUNHAMINS.com. You can check out our website. My phone number is 954-564-7772. And then you can email me directly, joseph@dunhamins.com. Again, go to our website, it has all our information. You can request quotes directly from there as well. And there's just a lot of good info there where you can sign up for our newsletter that we send out, insurance tips and tricks and discounts and things that can be useful for your everyday life.
Well, thank you so much for that information, Joseph. I'm going to come back to you in just a minute, but I want to talk about a project we've been working on. We talked about new construction, and we talked about how the new construction is ultimately going to replace all this 50s, 60s construction. And we have a project that we represent in an area of Oakland Park that is up and coming. It's close to Crunch Gym. It's actually adjacent to Stevens Field and a park course, and just minutes away from Wilton Manors. I'd like to share with you the video we have on that project. So Joseph, that's a project. If you haven't seen it yet, I want to invite you by to take a look at it personally. And as you have any customers that are coming in who may be downsizing from those single family homes and they're tired of cutting the grass, repairing the windows, repairing the roof, and dealing with water damage, perhaps they'll downsize and consider Urban Village. So again, we've been with Joseph Dominguez today, who's the president of Dunham Insurance. Is there anything that you'd like to leave with us as an important message that realtors should know about or consumers should know about in this day and age of homeowners insurance?
Well, the last thing I want to say is, Gary, call me for those townhouses, because since they're brand new construction, I do have good companies that have really good rates for those. So any of your buyers can actually save some money on those insurances for those units. Realtors, get your inspections early. Get your 4-point inspection and your wind mitigation early. Okay, don't wait till the last minute, because something may come up if it's an older home. And the main thing I want to say is a tip that I tell all my guys is, do not have the same inspector do the inspection as the 4-point and the wind mitigation as the full home inspection. Use 2 different inspectors. I promise you it'll be for your benefits.
So thank you for that excellent advice. And you know, in this day and age of transparency and consumers having multiple options, you know, what it matters at the end of the day and the bottom line is the type of service you get from your provider, whether it be your realtor, your insurance guy, your home inspector, your mortgage person. That really makes the difference. The type of service that you get is the kind of service that you expect and you deserve, and it should be 100% effort. So again, we've been with Joseph Dominguez today. Thank you for joining us, Joseph. It's been a pleasure having you here. For those of you who have not tuned in live, we invite you back. We invite you to come in and review the video again. If you have any details, please give Joseph Dominguez a call. And until next week, we're signing off. We'll be back next week with Tuesdays with Gary. Thank you for joining us.